We've identified the shooter as Audrey Hale, 28-year-old female that lived in the Nashville area. She does identify as transgender, yes. No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
Let me just be very clear. What we're talking about, AR-15s, these assault weapons ban, they are weapons of war, and they should not be on the streets across the country, in our communities. They should not be in schools. They should not be in grocery stores. They should not be in churches. That's what the president believes.
And a lot of conservative Christians just don't agree with they don't think transgender people should exist, quite frankly. And so what we're seeing is an attempt to erase transgender people. It's not keeping up with science. It's not keeping up with parents or transgender youth are telling us, but they're not listening to them. They're moving forward kind of based on ideology.
I would challenge anyone just to get to know trans people. We are a vibrant, diverse community, as diverse as anyone else. You know, I'm from the great state of Texas. I served in the military. I go to church every Sunday. My faith is very important to me. But God made me in her image. God made me transgender. And to see these people so cynically weaponize this and exploit these children's debts and their teachers' debts, it breaks my heart. I wonder what those families are thinking right now.
And one of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. But
now, the bill is ostensibly about protecting American national security and ending, quote, foreign adversaries from interfering in our elections through apps like TikTok. Because, of course, election interference by Twitter and Facebook is no problem at all. But election interference from TikTok is totally unacceptable. Okay. But in reality, and you should know this if you're opposed to TikTok, as we are, this bill isn't really about banning TikTok. It's never about what they say it is. Instead, this bill would give enormous and terrifying new powers to the federal government to punish American citizens and regulate how they communicate with one another.
The company has bent over backwards to work with our government to try to set up something that would be reasonable, including more government oversight. So I, for one, will say that I will continue to defend the First Amendment, and those who believe that the First Amendment doesn't protect this speech are in the wrong, and they'll find that out when the Supreme Court rules on this. I object.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a grand jury in New York. Trump was under investigation by the DA's office for his alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign.
You then called President Trump. What was his reaction?
Initially shock, I will tell you.
Why was he shocked?
But after he got over that initial, George, because at the end of the day, we were really hoping, and he was hoping that rule of law would have prevailed. The president will not be put in handcuffs. As far as the mugshot's concerned, perp walk, I mean, as I said, I'm sure they'll try to make sure they get some, joy out of this by parading him, but I don't think they're going to allow this to become a circus.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn 47. Mud, what's up, buddy?
Man, I have one thing to say, and that one thing to say is this. Normally, I would tell Joe Biden, don't quit your day job, but he's so bad at his day job, maybe comedian, trying to do the comedic style, he might be better at that than he is at his day job. But normally, if there was anybody else, I would say don't quit your day job.
So yeah, the White House takes a moment to advocate for the trans community right after a trans person kills a bunch of kids and a couple of adults. So 6 people were killed, 3 children, 3 adults, and yeah, they're all making this about trans advocacy right here in the Trans Week of Awareness, and culminating in I think it's tomorrow, or it was meant to be tomorrow, the Trans Day of Vengeance, which I think has been canceled. Should be canceled.
I understand, yes. From what I understand, it
Okay.
has been canceled. But still, this is why we didn't get the ouchie. Because what happens when you just keep on putting untested stuff into your body? The stuff that they're putting into these kids a lot of times for the transgender replacement hormone therapy stuff is literally used to castrate people in prison if they're pedophiles. Well, I mean, it used to be. I don't know if they still do that or not.
Yeah, they still use that. I'm trying to remember the name of the stuff. I do know what it is, but I'll tell you in a second, as soon as it pops back into my brain. But yeah, there's a lot going on here with the militant trans movement, and then there's also a lot of conservatives calling for more red flags laws, and I can guarantee you, with this regime, the way that it's set up, with dog boys and Rachel Levine, the crazy health secretary that is not healthy at all of these things, the regime will use these red flag laws against you. So, careful what you wish for. We got some more coming up on that when we talk about TikTok, because this is, people were concerned about TikTok, and now careful what you wish for. They've got the Patriot Act for the internet coming up. It's the Restrict Act, but it's something that they've had since the early 2000s. Right after the Patriot Act, they wanted to make the Internet Patriot Act, and they have been working on this for years and years, and finally they have their opportunity. But let's stick with the clown show of Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre and the blasphemous guy they put on TV today that says that God is trans, and that's something that I've been seeing recurring. They've created a religion around this. And by the way, another thing I wanted to bring up was when you were talking about the money in this, the pharma industry gets about $7 million for each person that converts to trans. So why would they not be promoting this stuff? This is just like you think they're going to get rid of cancer? No, they make too much money off of cancer. You think that this trans thing's going to go away? No, $7 million a person. And you know where they get a lot of that money? It's from Obamacare.
And follow the money is always a good way to go. Like for me, whenever I'm in a tight spot, one reason that I tell my customers, do not pay me ahead of time, is because if they pay me ahead of time, and let's say it started, let's say I had a day of rain, I am going to go to the customer that's not paid me ahead of time, because I need to have money to get my truck running. I don't, follow the money is always a way that you can see what's going. Even if I don't want to skip a customer, if the customer is prepaid, I'm going to go to a customer that's going to pay whenever I put that in. And so there's just no way around it. Whenever you follow the money, you see what's happening. And what you saw, did you see that little clip on Saturday Night Live? Didn't we play that last time?
Who was it?
I can't remember the guy's name, but he was talking about the cartels.
Woody Harrelson. Yeah. I've played it before. Yeah, I might have played it on the episode with you.
But that encapsulates the entire situation perfectly. It does.
It's just a little too late. I mean, he said it when it was safe to say it. You know, we weren't around we weren't doing the show for most of this stuff. But I don't think that, you know, I don't think that we were ever cowardly about what to say about this stuff. You know, like, definitely don't inject this stuff. I'm pretty sure I called it a scamdemic in our very first episode, and I've always thought that from the very beginning. And I think you can say that now, but there was a time whenever you just get cut from YouTube just for saying that word.
Hence the ouchie Fauci. But I mean, whenever it comes to what's going on with this school shooting, I don't understand why the pivot would be to red flag type laws rather than the pivot being to, okay, like, let's arm some teachers. Let's put incentives in there for military or police people that know how to handle weapons, and, you know, have them, you know, a gun safe right underneath their drawer where they can pull it out so they can respond immediately. I mean, even this one, it could have been way worse, but this person's friend, they get it so confused. It was a she, technically, right?
Born a woman, identifies as male.
Okay, yeah, I thought, yeah. So it was a she. She messaged her friend saying she's going to do something. Her friend called the police 1 minute before the shooting started, from what I understand. It might have been 1 minute before or 1 minute after. So there was an immediate, like, the police were like jumping into gear, but you still have the drive time, you know? I don't understand why the Democrats and the libtards don't get the idea. Put a military vet inside of the damn school.
Well,
the response time is going to be way faster.
You saw in Uvalde that 376 cops couldn't stop one guy who was very skinny, by the way. They just sat there with their hand sanitizer over and over and over again, playing games on their phone while kids are getting murdered.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it'll make me mad. Or mad.
Yeah, I covered it pretty well in last week's Burn Babylon Burn. I had an interview with my aunt who lives very close to Uvalde, so we talked about that. It was a extra segment within the show, so it was really fun.
But what, I mean, to me, it's looking at these. They're making people go crazy at this point. Basically, they're basically making people go crazy. It's rather than conforming to the reality that you're facing, they're trying to make people. I mean, like, I can walk. I'm trying to get the right words. I can conform reality to me by willpower and just being like, I'm going to go do this, and I make something happen. But I can't change the nature of what's going on. I can't change my gender, you know?
So
I can't do that.
You grew up and you based your life around living up to a certain kind of paradigm, but they flipped the paradigm. And that's what's going on here. And this is why anybody talking about white privilege and saying that we should be ashamed or something like that, any of those people are your enemy. That's just how it is at this point. They're sitting here. We're at the bottom now, and most of us don't even know it. In the pecking order of everything, that's why certain people get certain jobs, and that's why the stuff is being pushed and pressed in our face every minute.
And we talked about this before, but with Scott Adams' comment, he was specifically targeted towards, like, part of his clarification on the whole topic was, don't deal with people that view themselves as victims. Deal with people that view themselves as changers, makers. They're going to do something. They're going to create. They're going to solve the problem. I guess a good way to say it is, don't deal with victims, deal with problem solvers.
Well, that doesn't work in an equity economy, and that's what they're trying to create. That's why they're destroying the money right now. It doesn't matter how successful you are whenever they turn all the paper in your pocket into something that's worthless and then stick you on a UBI and and control everything. Part of what's going on with this TikTok thing is it's more control. And it was started with some legitimate concerns about us being spied on, and some legitimate concerns about possibly the algorithms promoting things like this trans stuff, because the algorithms have promoted it. But I listen to No Agenda quite a lot, and Adam made the point that the way TikTok's algorithms seem to work is that they're not doing what everybody else is doing. Facebook and Twitter and YouTube are trying to they're trying to give you rage bait so that you're angry all the time, and TikTok basically gives you what you want, so you're in the echo chamber, and that's what's working really well with advertisers, and that's why half of the entire country has this app on their phone.
Yeah, and let's just clarify the original, the first point of our concern with Twitter is that it's an adversarial country that is using it to brainwash people.
You said Twitter, you mean TikTok.
TikTok.
And I don't think it's being used to brainwash necessarily. But there's certain things that they won't show in their country because, for instance, they're not promoting boys becoming girls in China. They will get rid of that kind of thing so that that their young men don't see that, because they don't want that in their country, and I don't blame them. So there is like a little bit of I guess they're uneven on that kind of thing. And but the thing is that the creators on TikTok, they're people like us,
Yeah.
And I mean, YouTube Shorts is just the same thing as TikTok, and Instagram Reels, it's just the same thing as TikTok. It's just that people prefer that format. And the thing I like about it is I do those clips at the beginning of the show. There's a lot of individual people that make something that sometimes I want to throw into the clips, and I find it really useful for that. And so, as somebody that's trying to scoop up the zeitgeist of the week in order to do the show, it's really useful for that.
I don't disagree at all. My point is that the initial argument against it is based around the idea that it's not just a company, it's the Chinese government that's collecting the data. It's the Chinese government. They literally have a button that they can push to boost something to the top. And so that's
so does all the rest of them. All the rest of them do that.
I know, but
yeah.
the
Boost
point
and deboost.
was it's a government. It's an adversarial government that's having the control. It's not simply a company.
In my opinion, I would say that the United States government and the way that it's occupied at this point is more of an adversarial government, and they have a ton of control over Facebook and Twitter, and they can promote and demote things and censor us. They've had all kinds of power for that. So I feel like the more realistic threat to my life is the people that can come in and make it legal to do terrible things to me, because that's what it looks like they're trying to press for here. I mean, it looks like they're calling for more gun control as we speak. And by the way, the shooter had a pistol brace, and that's one of the things that makes it suspect. And then you've heard a lot of things about the shoes. I don't buy the shoes being different shoes. I think it's like the blue and gold dress that they showed a few years ago. But they could be different shoes. I haven't had it confirmed either way. The other thing about that is that there's shoes in every major shooting that is very likely to be a psyop. And everybody remembers the shoes from Uvalde that Matthew McConaughey's wife had the same exact pair, and that was kind of weird.
Yeah. And basically for me, I was setting up the point to where whenever we're dealing with the Twitter topic, I'm just laying out the foundation of where the roots of the idea came from. And then we get to the area of how they psyoped everything. Take a crisis and use it to grab power. So you know a little bit more about this than me, but I understand some of it.
It's the problem reaction solution that they've done over and over again. So, 9/11, for instance, that's the big one. That's what woke me up. And, there's the problem, terrorism, reaction, Patriot Act, solution, endless wars. And, and now we're suffering the consequences of all the money they printed over the years in order to bolster the military-industrial complex. And now the military-industrial complex has complete control over the government. I mean, their lobbyists are probably more in power than the senators that you can name off the top of your head.
Quick, name all the senators you can name off the top of your head. We got Ted Cruz, Rand Paul,
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham. He's still a senator? Oh, that sucks.
Oh yeah, he embarrassed himself on TV. I almost put that in the clips. He acted as if he didn't know he's been supporting this Restrict Act, and he was interviewed about it. And well, I didn't know it was gonna be like that. So.
Yeah, you didn't know because you didn't read it. You don't read the stuff. You just have. This makes no sense to me that they just shove through laws. Like, can we make a law to where it's one page? I mean, let's just slow government down. Let's just get a law in place to where it needs to be readable, one page, front and back. Just one page, front and back. Read it, understand it, put it in law.
Yeah, Rand Paul wrote the Read the Bill Act, and it was out. It didn't even make it to be voted on. They made sure that didn't happen, because that's how they govern. They govern by crisis. So what we always see crisis. It seems like I just recorded Sunday with the WTF forum, and all of that was new material stuff that happened between last Thursday, whenever I recorded another Burn Babylon Burn. Thursday to Sunday, enough happened that we talked about all different stuff in that show. And then from then to now, enough stuff to happen. We could talk about probably 5 or 6 different things today. And that's how fast this news cycle is working. We're being bombarded. And it's, you get pummeled down and you can't think whenever you run into these situations, because your mind's all over the place and you're trying to apply your principles from one situation to the principles to the other.
Exactly. And so first off, we're seeing Joe Biden's poll numbers falling. His approval rate's falling right now because he's screwed up immensely by trying to be a comedic actor. But I mean, I prefer him to do a comedy tour rather than him being president.
I don't think he was properly briefed on that. That's why he was talking about his Jenny's ice cream, which is close to $20 a pint, by the way. And that's the same ice cream that Pelosi had in her freezer whenever she did her whole let them eat cake bit. That was ice cream. She had an entire freezer full of Jenny's, about $20 a pint, and Joe Biden has a whole refrigerator full upstairs, chocolate chip. He loves his chocolate chip.
Elizabeth Warren impersonation.
Well done. Well done.
I'm friends with the people. I drink beer.
She should be really careful with that fire water.
That's good. That's really. I'm sorry. That was really good. Okay.
All right. So the Trojan horse, the Restrict Act. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think enough people are wise to it, which is good. But they've been trying to stick this stuff into legislation for years. All it takes is the right crisis. And the right crisis will likely be more of the hack attacks that we've been seeing, especially the ones that have been attacking our food infrastructure. That is the best in the world. Here I am at one of the busiest terminals, and freight's not moving right now. I talked to guys in other companies. Freight's really slow. Yeah, we're heading into summer and freight's slow. Most of the stuff I ship is food, y'all.
Wait. Freight's not. Why is this not a news story that I've heard of? Freight's not moving right now.
I'm not saying that it's frozen and not moving. I'm saying that it's slow right now. You will notice if you go out on the interstate, less 18-wheeler traffic than you usually see.
That's bad.
Well, it's definitely not good. So,
this is my definition of bad.
It's really bad for me, but it turns into something really bad for the people, and and that is, I'm not saying panic. I'm just saying that if freight's not moving right now, and this is a big company and it hauls a lot of stuff, then or freight is moving right now. By the way, freight is moving. It's just not moving fast enough to get me going. So. And usually I don't have to wait because I'm high on the priority list.
So this is not financial advice, but I will say I was very happy yesterday. I had dinner with my buddies, and their yard was not cut, and they, kids were coming over. So I went ahead and cut the grass so that the kids could play out in the grass. And then one of my friends gave me an ounce of silver as a tip. They just was like, they started throwing quarters at me first, and then one of my friends handed me an ounce of silver. I feel like that was very, very generous for that specific reason of what you just explained.
It's $25 an ounce plus however much it costs to mint it right now. So.
Oh, wow, I didn't realize it was that much. Cool. That was a good tip.
Yeah, roughly.
Golly, I'm still trying to get over the fact that you just told me that the shipping slowed down.
Look at what's happened with money, and most people are not talking about it. But the way that we're set up right now, the economy, there is going to be a lot of things happening in the next few months that we're not going to like.
1/4 of the yards I passed, 1/4 of the yards that I passed while driving are not cut right now. 1/4. That's not normal. Normally, like, you can spot out, okay, that person. Now it's it's between 1/4 and 1/3 of people like having to conserve their money. They're waiting longer. Normally by this point, I'm getting tons of phone calls, and right now that entire thing is toned down. Like I at this point, I normally would have built up 40, 50 customers within these last 2 weeks. Yards are growing and people are not calling.
Yeah. Be ready for a difficult summer, but we'll see what happens. Things can change. But be aware of everything that's led to this, because it's coming due at some point. You can keep putting it off, raising interest rates and everything like that. Eventually the bubble always bursts.
Yeah, well, right now they're talking about lowering the interest rates again. They're trying to figure out how to balance that out. And it's because they keep on sending money to Ukraine and all these other areas. It's like, guys, stop. Please. can we just stop? If I go to war with a country, I want the entire U.S. military going in and solving the problem. I don't want any more of these half little fake wars. We want to knock out the cartels. Just knock the cartels out. Just go in, tell Mexico, hey, sorry, we're just solving this issue for you right quick. And we're just taking care of the issue, and we're not take any land. We're just going to solve it. It's Can we stop with these half fake measures that Cenk Uygur has a little bit of a point of getting money out of politics. I don't know what it would look like.
It's probably bad if it's coming from him. What is it?
But his argument is just get money out of politics. And of course, he's funded by, very, very wealthy people and all this other stuff. So it's kind of a hypocritical thing for him to say.
Their solution has always been to get us to pay for everything.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
And then now we're facing this whole thing with Trump. What do you think is going to happen with this indictment?
I don't think very much is going to happen. I was listening to Judge Knapp earlier today. He said that they might actually have something, and that's why they're going so hard on this. I really doubt it. I think it's just more of the circus, and then they'll try again. Once that's over with, they've got 3 or 4 more things to go at him about after this. They're just going to keep doing this. And that plays right into my theory that I've had for a long time.
Which is?
I've told you about it. I think that Trump he's going to eventually concede to DeSantis so that DeSantis gets him out of a lot of legal trouble. I understand that this one is state, so you can't get a presidential pardon for it, but I'm sure that he's got troubles that are, president pardonable, and that, if DeSantis is the president, he can keep Trump out of more trouble. I think that's how it's going. I think that Bannon's got them both behind the scenes.
And my theory is opposite, which is that this is going to boost Trump up and make it so that he's going to win the nomination. But I think it's whenever, when have you ever helped somebody out in an accident? Like you saw somebody get in a car accident and you see all the men, run out and solve the issue type thing. Like whenever we had the tornadoes around here. So we actually had another one last Monday. But whenever we had the tornadoes, I went up and volunteered on a Saturday. It had the tornadoes, I think, happened on a Friday. So I went up to volunteer. There was a rallying point where we all met up, and there were between 300 and 500 pickup trucks all lined up. And we were running in caravans of 50 pickup, not 50, but ours was, I think we had close to 30. We had 30 people working and 15 pickup trucks, where we were going from job site to job site, helping people out with the problem that they had. And we were just volunteering. We weren't getting paid for anything, nothing. I think that's what's going to happen to Trump, where this is just such a blow, and it's a banana republic type move. I think people are going to rally behind Trump on a massive level.
I don't doubt that at all. I can see this as being beneficial for his campaign for sure. By the way, if you didn't notice, Jacob Chansley has been released. The QAnon shaman that was arrested, they released him because all the video evidence that proved that he was led into the building, just like we all know. So here's to hoping, praying that the rest of the political prisoners from that incident get released, because some of them are sitting in solitary confinement right now and rotting away in prison because of the political maneuverings of this disgusting regime.
when we started this podcast, what, 2 years ago or something, the only political prisoners I knew about were it was Julian Assange. That was the only one I knew about. Now there's like what, something like 300.
Yeah, and then Snowden is also in that, and you could
mean,
argue that Russell Bright is another political prisoner. He was arrested for running Silk Road. They made up a whole bunch of claims about him that weren't true.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
The man's in prison, rotting away for building a website.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that one, but there's a lot of nuance. I would suggest going and I'm saying to the audience, going and looking at what's his face, Count Dankula's recapping of the Silk Road. He does a really good job telling the story. It's funny, it's entertaining, and it's very thorough. Count Dankula does some really great work. But
yeah, I'll check that out. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna get. I don't know about him getting arrested. I know he's indicted, and he'll probably show up there on his own volition. They might slap handcuffs on him just to make it, to build the drama, to have the TV moment that all the blue and on weirdos are drooling in front of their televisions for. This thing is more about ratings for CNN than it is anything realistic. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but I could be wrong. Judge Napolitano thinks that I could be that this could happen. I trust him a lot more than most people in media.
I personally don't see it going anywhere. But it's sorry to bring up Scott Adams again. Shake the box, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to, whenever you're in a bad situation, whenever you're in a situation where you can't figure out how to get out, just shift up all the circumstances, and that's what just happened. The box got grabbed and it got shaken, but as a result of shaking the box, Biden is going down in ratings and Trump is going up. Sorry, not ratings, but popular support. And I really think a lot of people don't want this to turn into that we don't want, a lot of people do not want the US to turn into a banana republic.
Turn into?
Well played.
It is.
Well,
I mean,
but this, like you said, like you started paying attention to politics after 9/11. And for me, I was paying attention to politics before then, but it definitely was 9/11 definitely was a little bit of a turning point. But whenever you see the effect that they have and the way they manipulate stuff, and this is one of those areas where people are just like, you crossed the line, basically. Like, to me, this is crossing the line on a very large scale.
They don't care about any lines. They're just going to do what they want to do with this. They'll do everything they can to say they got him, and we'll see what happens. I think this is probably the least of our worries. We might not even be a country by the time there's another election, with the way that they're dealing with our money and the way that they're provoking nuclear war. And then there's, of course, the possibility of civil unrest, where we've never been more divided than we are.
Yeah, the shaman gets released, and then the trannies storm the Capitol.
Yeah, I mean that might be the next thing, But the thing about the Republicans is they're not as brutal. They never. Well, they were for a time, actually, in that 20 years ago, the neocons were that brutal. But now that that movement, which is basically foundation in communism, that is a group that was built out of Trotsky, the ideas of Trotsky, and now that that group is that's kind of the quiet element of the Republican Party. Speaking of, did you see that Josh Hawley and Rand Paul have been going at it about this Restrict Act?
Enlighten me more.
Well, that clip I played of Rand Paul in the beginning, that was him responding to Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley has a boner for China that you couldn't even imagine. It's, and otherwise he's good, but it seems like whatever lobby wants him to go after China that funds him, or maybe it's just his own ideological thing. Maybe, maybe Xi Jinping stole his girlfriend or something like that. But he really wants to go after China. He's really got it out. Otherwise, he's good on with.
I need a reframe. Are you saying Josh Hawley is going after China or not going after China?
He's big time going after China. He's got a hard on for China in a bad way. Really, really wants us to be fighting with them, it seems. And so this TikTok thing has been his pet project for a little while. And Rand Paul's not having it, obviously. He's, and he's friends with Hawley. They're usually on the same side of most issues, not this one.
Okay, well, so this is informative to me. What's Rand Paul's argument against what Hawley's doing?
Free speech. I mean, obviously, you don't want the Internet Patriot Act, and that's he knows that this is going to be used for a variety of other things. And even so, that TikTok is not so dangerous that you can come at it with this. If you think it's dangerous, don't download it.
Well, obviously, but all right. So to me, the free speech element is different with TikTok because we can elect people to stop the abuse. Whereas with China,
you still think this is a democracy?
Huh?
You still think we live in a democracy, that voting actually solves things and that these people actually represent us? I think the story that you're missing over the last several years is none of that matters. They're going to be tyrants no matter what you do.
But we have a small amount of control over our tyrants, where we have no control over Chinese tyrants without war. I'm saying it out loud so that I get a pushback so I can see a different perspective. But to me, whenever it comes to TikTok, we have no control over that tyrant because TikTok is at least partially owned by the Chinese government, and they are pushing brainwash type things that's promoting all this crap. And they're not doing the same thing for their own citizens. They're intentionally allowing a certain thing to be broadcasted our way, and if we have no way to stop it without just stopping it. Whereas whenever it comes to Facebook, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube Shorts, if the government, we could vote in people that basically say enough is enough. Just stop it. We can vote those people in, and we actually have some level of control. Whereas with TikTok, we don't have a level of control. What's your argument?
I'm going to repeat myself. I don't think that they actually count these things anymore. And I don't think that they have for a while. The whole thing is about having a believable story. And that's that's what's going on. The stories have become more and less believable as time has gone on. I think that everybody that's in there is installed at a high capacity. There's probably the few that we talk about that seem to be on our side are, those are the good ones, and they might be controlled by some other entity. I don't know. I just know that if you think we live in a democracy, you're wrong, and you don't want to really live in a democracy anyway.
It's a republic. I'm just saying that we have opportunity to, rise up against what's coming at us. What are your thoughts on Matt Gate?
I like him for the most part. The things that he said in the past several months, I've been on the same page with. I think that he's really good at engaging his enemies. I think he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I agree. I like that he dropped a couple F-bombs on Tim Pool's show. I thought that was funny. Like he got he got pretty fired up at one point talking about some of his points. And that's, to me, what I really like is whenever somebody's passionate enough that they're actually, going to go at the system, and like you can tell that he's passionate about his points. I wish I could remember the other guy. There was another guy that.
So real quick, the point I'm trying to make is the government is not afraid of us, and they don't do anything in order to prevent an uprising or anything like that. They don't care. They're not afraid of us. They will do whatever the heck that they want. And hey, I think that they're more tyrannical than the Chinese. And I think that a lot of this uproar and outrage is based on the fact that okay, so China is upsetting the United States government, but what is the United States government? It's this whole gay force, NATO, whatever that hell it is right now, where they want to promote homosexuality throughout the world, and that is what the United States is at this point. And so if China's not down with that, and the United States government wants to slap China out of the App Store, then hey, I'm more on the side of China on this.
I'll have to think more about that one. That's an interesting one. I was listening to a liberal, like finally a liberal went on Tim Pool's show earlier today, and the liberal was 100% behind backing Ukraine and unsure about backing Taiwan, which to me was just like
that's coming. The whole Taiwan thing is coming, and Josh Hawley will be at the front of that. He is going to be screaming about China every single day. I don't want us to be fighting with China at all. It's bad enough that this whole Ukraine situation pushed that relationship to be a stronger one, because really, whenever sides start splitting up, where you got the Axis and allies, the NATO versus the BRICS, it's just like that. Whenever you start seeing that push, I mean, we're headed for another world war. It's pretty scary. And with the technology that we have, people always say nukes. I've mentioned nukes several times, but the advanced drone warfare that these people have, both sides, all sides of this, pretty scary. Plus, with the way globalism's designed, we can't do anything without Russia's resources and China's production. So, I mean, really, the United States is completely interdependent on these two countries, and has been, I mean, they're a parasite to us, we're a parasite to them.
But the only reason we're dependent on them is because the government won't get out of our own effing way. We have every single resource we have here. Everything.
Well, that's true, but cheap labor is going to end up costing you at some point. And whenever you're so invested in cheap labor and cheap products, you're going to lose everything in order to buy it. This lesson can be taught over and over again. You can look at the slavery of the United States and see that the same thing happened there. You can see that with all of this this immigration, that they've got the gates completely open at this point, and and that is in order to consume more cheap labor. But you know what you're going to lose? You're going to lose your entire culture, and you're going to lose everything that made this place great in the first place.
I mean, from my experience with cheap labor, it's mainly due to a lack of wanting to build and educate the employee. It's wanting to constrain them. Like for me, right now, my employee, I pay him $10 an hour, and my goal is to pay him 15 an hour. Like I intend, like first next step, hopefully in 2 weeks, I can afford to pay him 12 an hour. I need another, 20 yards or so, and then I can raise his rate. And I tell him that. I'm like encouraging him, and every time it's like, you did a great job today. So good. You messed up in this small area and this small area, but we need to make sure it's done perfect. And it's, to me, like somebody like one of my relatives, this relative always just hunts for the cheapest thing she can get, and it's not done right ever. It's never done right. She had a door put in on her house, and the freaking gap in the door on the side is like that wide on both sides, so wasps just fly in and put like little nests on the inside of the freaking hallway. And I'm just like, stop paying people nothing. Like, just stop it, because you're not encouraging. And to me, that's part of the whole mentality. It's the Democrat mentality, or the socialist mentality, I should say, versus the capitalist mentality. It's stopped trying to conserve your portion of the pie and take other people's portion of the pie. Can we just make a bigger pie? And that's the mentality. Can we create, or are we just like gonna just keep taking stuff from each other? Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, I think that they've been making a bigger pie, but they've also been letting a lot more things like that come and consume it. The loss of manufacturing in our own country, and the importation of cheap labor, and the bringing in of the cheap labor, and then also having the cheap labor done in other places. The whole point of having an economy is to keep everybody working and happy.
And they're making it hard.
Oh, they're doing everything they can to destroy everything. This is the Great Reset. They want to change everything. They want you in your 15-minute cities. They want you to be on UBI, which is, I mean, this is just as bad as all the stuff that they were doing in Holodomor, So here we are. You got anything else? Should I roll the theme?
Well, but how do we end that? Because we hit multiple points, but essentially the powerful are doing everything they can to maintain their power. The sensible ones, the sensible people in government, are doing everything they can to avoid a third world war. And they're doing everything they can to get the guy that is able to stop the third world war, in my opinion, from being able to succeed. Because I for Trump, he actually, part of diplomacy is understanding how other people think. And Trump being a negotiator, Trump being a businessman, he understands how people in China think. And
so this is bigger than all of them.
What is?
What's going on right now? This is a plan, and you're seeing it in action, and all of these people are all characters in the show. This is the Great Reset. This is the plan that they want. They want this bipolar world. They say multipolar, but they really mean bipolar. NATO BRICS, and they want those alignments to get tighter on each side, the way they can have their little divide and conquer, use one side against the other until they can unify that to a one world government. And that's always been on the docket. That's been the agenda for a very long time. But if they have two sides and they control both sides, just like they do with the Democrats and Republicans, they have two sides and control both sides. Somebody made the point the other day, why is there no third party in America? Well, it's because the corporations and the other governments don't want to end up paying three parties. So
I hear you there, but inside of those parties, there's the people that are trying to shift the dynamic of force. And so the dynamic of the way things shift. I mean, the neocons are almost dead at this point. And that's largely thanks to Trump and Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Tom Woods, in my opinion.
But they're not. They're basically, they've moved next door to the Democrats. They're they're giving, they're, as soon as they realize that the Republicans don't want them, they're just moving over there. You saw how much support that Liz Cheney got from the Democrats. And this, all of these wars and stuff like that, that's the neocon agenda. The neocon agenda is coming out through Biden.
Yeah, it's coming out. Yeah, okay.
It's a gay neocon agenda. There you go.
Well, this has been fun. This has been Burn Babylon Burn, episode 47.
Always is. Thanks for joining me, Mud. If you want to find the show, go to the link tree down here if you're on YouTube. If you're not, it's linktree/3xburn, and then there's also a Liberty Links, which is basically the same thing. libertylinks.io/the Doom Kitchen, and give me some comments, likes, and subscribes and stuff, because I don't get a whole lot, and I would really appreciate. I see 3 people listening, and one of you is Aberrant, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.